starting January 1st, 2026, posting AI-edited real estate photos could be considered a crime in California. Other states and countries are now looking to enact similar laws. There are ways, though, to ensure that you can legally post safe images with sky swaps, virtual staging, and various AI edits. So let's dive into this new law, see what all is involved, and what this is going to do to affect real estate photography editing going forward in 2026. This new law is AB 723, which has strict requirements on the use of digitally altered images. The text in the law says that a digitally altered image is anything that has been altered through the use of photo editing software or artificial intelligence to add, remove, or change elements in the image, including, but not limited to, fixtures, furniture, appliances, flooring, walls, paint color, hardscape, landscape, facade, floor plans, and elements outside of or visible from the property, including but not limited to streetlights, utility poles, views through windows, and neighboring properties. First, though, let me mention that standard edits are okay. AB 723 states this does not include an image where only lighting, sharpening, white balance, color correction, angle straightening, cropping, exposure, or other common photo editing adjustments are made that do not change the representation of the real property. Now, there are still ways that you can deliver things like virtual staging and also sky swaps, but there will be some strict guidance, and I'll get to that in just a second. But first, I did want to clarify that this isn't just for MLS. This is for any place that an image is going to be used to advertise a property. So this also includes social media posts, it includes flyers, it includes magazines, print material, anything that's used to advertise or market a property for sale. Now, to be compliant, one easy way is real estate agents just don't post these virtually staged images or faux twilights or whatever. And some real estate photographies are probably going, hurrah, we don't have any faux twilights anymore. Well, not necessarily. So all of these AI edited images, it's really a matter of disclosure. If they don't disclose properly that an image has been modified and digitally altered, then they could face not just a fine from the MLS, but actually criminal charges by the state of California. And this is where it gets tricky because it's not just simply a matter of disclosing this, it's a matter of also having other information available about some of the original work. The wording in AB 723 is a reasonably conspicuous notice that this has been digitally altered. So what that usually means is, for instance, if it's on the MLS or a website that's in control of, for instance, the real estate agent, they could have two images. One image that says that it's been digitally altered, and the other, though, has to show the original, and they have to be next to each other. Now, not physically right on the same screen, but they'd have to be able to swipe to the next one and see what the original is. The other way, too, that they can do this is on the image. They don't have to have the original next to it necessarily, for instance, in social media posts or in print media or in flyers. Instead, they can put a QR code on that image or just a URL link showing though where the originals are. And so with that then, they'd have to still have some type of conspicuous notice on there of what that QR code is for and what that URL or link is for so that people know that that's where they would go to see the original images. Now, the original images could then be on a property website or a brokerage website or something of that sort, but this also gets a lot more complicated. Having restrictions like this just make it convoluted from the marketing standpoint. And I'm going to talk about how this is going to have a negative impact in some cases, but a positive impact in others. But first, let's talk about these common edits and what it means when you would work with one of your clients. First, let's talk about virtual staging. When it comes to virtual staging, this means, without a doubt, if you really want to abide by the letter of the law, that you cannot use Nano Banana or ChatGPT to do your virtual staging. The reason being is that those programs don't just add furniture, they completely remake the entire image, which tends to redo the structure. So it can make structural changes, and that, under the letter of the law, is illegal going forward. So you can still use programs like Apply Design that just add furniture there, but they won't change the structure. And by the way, I have videos on this, and you might have seen them before, but if you want to rewatch them or if you haven't seen them yet, I've got links to that and other information down in the description of this video. But when it comes to the virtual staging and ChatGPT and Nano Banana, you see that out there, raise a red flag, because this now is putting everybody at risk. Someone takes your photos and they put them into Nano Banana and they do some virtual staging, you need to contact them right away and say, okay, this might be in violation of California AB 723. And if you're not in California, warn them anyways that this has already started in California and other MLSs are looking now to enact this. And as a minimum, as stated earlier, you really do need to label both images so that you provide one that is labeled original, and then you have another one that is labeled that it has been virtually staged or digitally altered. Faux twilights, that's a no-brainer. Same thing here with using Nano Banana or any other program. That's been really popular lately, but that's a big no-no now going forward. But can you do it? Absolutely you can, as long as you don't change the structure and as long as it's noted that it has been digitally altered and you do provide the original. Item removal, that's also, it might seem like a gray area, but it's really not. It's very clear cut. So even though you could remove, for instance, a pod out of a driveway, very common as people are moving, it might look exactly like the house itself, but under the letter of the law, you would still have to put that this is a digitally altered image and that you'd have to also provide the original. But what about sky swaps? So a lot of times it could just be an overcast day and you just need to change out a sky that really was from the same city, the same town. It's just that it was cloudy that day. Now, that still falls under AB 723 as being illegal unless it's disclosed because it actually is changing something. The law explicitly includes wording of alterations of elements outside of or visible from the property, which a sky swap clearly falls under. So if you're doing sky swaps for someone, just let them know that you will have to label these as digitally altered. These restrictions overall can defeat the purpose of doing some of these edits to begin with, kind of making this a zero-sum game in some cases. For instance, it really diminishes the marketing appeal. So that first impression that people get when they would see one of these twilight images that have been enhanced, the skies have been swapped out, or they see some virtual staging, well, then when they have to see a QR code or URL and text next to it that says it's been digitally altered, even just an image that says digitally altered, in today's day and age of people being heavily nauseated by what AI has done to fool them online, people get a real bad taste in their mouth about it. So immediately this starts defeating the purpose. So something also to discuss with your clients is, do you really want me to do this? Do you really want this done? No problem. We just have to make sure that we disclose it. Leave that marketing up to them. Yet there's also a very positive impact from potential buyers. And that's that buyers aren't underwhelmed when they show up to view a property. They show up to a property, it was virtually staged, it looked really nice, and maybe the virtual staging was also covering up some imperfections. But then when they show up and they see that it's empty and there might be some imperfections that they really didn't expect, well, their expectations were set prior to showing up to view the house. Then they show up and they could be a little underwhelmed. So in a lot of ways, this new law protects buyers. And that's really the intent of the law to begin with, is that there's more truth in advertising. Now, the California Association of Realtors really pushed back on this initially, and they settled when negotiating with the state of California for the restrictions right now. Because just like your MLS right now, just about every place around the world has truth in advertising laws that prohibit people from displaying properties that are misrepresented when they're up for sale. Just the same way for any type of item too, you can't misrepresent it. So this was almost duplicate of these existing laws. So we'll see where this goes. It will be quite interesting. But for right now, know that this actually isn't all that bad. And what you can also do is, because there's added work involved with it, you can now charge for these things. If somebody wants sky swaps and you have to label that they're digitally altered, and you have to do this other work to make sure that even the originals have that type of wording, or you might be putting in QR codes or URLs or something else for them, well, then you could charge extra for that. If they don't want to, then you can say, well, I'm not labeling these images. And when you then deliver the images to them, put in the invoice some wording, images not labeled per client to be in compliance with AB 723. You could also just put in your invoice that images are not in compliance with AB 723, or other wording also. You could say that images may not be in compliance with MLS regulations. Something like that will protect you, and then it's really up to your client to decide if they want to post these or how they want to use them, because there is a big exception to this that's really often overlooked. This law does not apply whatsoever to people giving presentations for property potential. So it's very common. You've probably seen this on HGTV, for instance, where someone comes in and says, look what we can do to remodel your house. And then they show them some renderings. Well, the same thing is very true for a lot of my commercial real estate clients and some of my residential listing real estate clients as well. They like to have these images that they can sit down with potential buyers and go, I know this is what it looks like, but look what it could look like. And then they'll show them a virtually staged image or something that's been completely redone. So like I said, it's very common for me in commercial real estate to take a complete disaster area and turn it into something very nice, showing what it could be with a little bit of TLC. In any case, the misuse and abuse of AI throughout social media with images and videos has really led the charge from people getting so disgusted and then having a distrust for the use of AI. The last thing that people want is some type of misrepresentation when they go to make the biggest purchase of their life, and that's usually real estate. That's why laws like AB 723 have been enacted, and there are more laws that will surely follow as other states use California's AB 723 to set precedent for their new laws as well. Things will change over time, they always do, and as they develop, I'll stay on top of it and I'll keep you posted.